Here are my thoughts on the new Kendrick Lamar album. Cause it's really just Kendrick on this whole vibe of like, now I'm talking my shit. Oh, this is the one. Yo, this joint goes crazy, bro. This joint, hey, this a bop. This is a certified bop. This joint goes great. Like the beat go. All right, I'm sorry. It's a glaze. It's a glaze. I'm sorry. I'm glazing. That was a solid track. SZA feature, to be expected. Great sample, by the way. And again, I think that this one took us back to Damn with the vibes. I know what this is. This is one mic. He sampled one mic. I'm over here like, bro, I know this. Like, who is this? I know this. That's Section 80 Kendrick right there. I don't think y'all realize that. Like, he's going in. You know, at first I'm just like, how does Kendrick Lamar do it again? Is this just some throwaway album? Off of the first intro track, I thought it was just me. Let me just talk my shit, fuck the Grammys type of album. But after that song right there, it's officially, no, I'm on my shit. I'm on my shit. Like, first two tracks are let me appeal to the general market. And this one right here is like, nah, let me let them know why this album is hip hop and one of the best. Kendrick Lamar might be the LeBron of rap. I mean, there's nothing he can't do. That's Section 80 Kendrick right there. That's Section 80 Kendrick right there. Like, this album is Kendrick Lamar in his natural form. Leave Britney alone. Hey. Upon initial listen, again, have to re-listen to the project, but I mean, it's flowing all in all pretty good to me, like the album so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it in terms of the Kendrick Lamar project. And again, I think the overall composition is very reminiscent of Damn, and it's really just natural nature Kenny, in my opinion, without trying to force a concept onto people, which I think is very purposeful in even the ambiguity behind the title. Me not being an LA native or a West Coast person, it's not as attractive to me. It's not as appealing to me, but it is an appealing track, and it is a good, in my opinion, just in terms of the framework of the context of the album and just the cohesion of it all in general. It keeps me listening to the project, and I'm enjoying it so far. Like, that's the heart. That's the heart part 6. And I like the fact that it in no way, shape, or form mentions Drake. And it's like, solid track. 10 out of 10 track for me. It's the heart. It's the heart, and it's on the album, right? We didn't have to go beg for it this time. Track 11. Okay, I know what the album means now. This song, in some way, feels like a PG Lang tryout. This song being with the same title of the album, I think GNX stands for Got Next. Understanding that these are some artists that you might put on to PG Lang. And then I guess overall alluding to you taking the throne as king. Oh my God. SZA murders this joint. SZA murders this joint. Oh my goodness. This might be my favorite track on the whole project. SZA smoked this joint. Like, SZA smoked this joint. Yes. SZA smoked this joint. I think there's only one track on this song, in my opinion, that should just not be here, and it is dragging the whole album down. And I think that he named it after the album in and of itself to force people to listen to it, honestly, which is GNX, which I believe stands for Got Next. Yeah. All in all, I'm giving it an 11 out of 12 in terms of tracks that are good. And not even saying that particular track is bad, but I feel like, bro, you should have just put Keem on it and like really rocked out and let y'all get on y'all bilingual shit. But yeah, I mean, maybe I gotta listen to it again. Maybe it'll grow on me. I'll see what they do with it in terms of like market push. I do obviously feel like it's a PG Lang tryout. Just looking at it top to top to top, most talked about track I feel like is going to be the Whacked Out Murals. Squabble Up is just one of those bops. We did that one so we could perform it at the Super Bowl. Luther, fantastic track, in my opinion. Man at the Garden, it's hip hop. It's hip hop. That's just my rendition of hip hop, and just, man, just what he does with that is fantastic in my opinion. Hey Now, one of those tracks that initially was just like, I don't know about this, and then it turns into something that's like, all right, this is hard. This is hard. Reincarnated, another one of those joints that I'm just like, yeah, that's it. Like, that's it. You feel me? TV Off, I've Started. That's one of my favorite thus far. Dodger Blue, great solid track. Just solid track. Solid track. Good track though. It's a good track. Peekaboo was cool. It was good. Not bad. Threw me off a little bit, but it was a good track. Heart Part 6, great. Phenomenal. Perfect. It's right where it needs to be. Not going to talk about that one. And then Gloria was just fucking smoke. Like fire. Fire. Like, oh my goodness. The overall project, all in all, I give it a 8.9 out of 10. And I rate it, in terms of Kendrick Lamar albums, off of initial listen, I put it's the fourth best Kendrick Lamar album. Number one in my opinion, being personal opinion, this is very personal here, but I think that my top three can flex. Number one is To Pimp a Butterfly for me. Number two is Damn. And number three is Good Kid, Mad City. And I'll put this one fourth. And to follow that, at fifth, I put Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I really loved that album. I appreciated the double disc fashion of it and the overall message. And again, I would argue with myself to put Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers over this particular project. But just for the fact that it was a smaller album, it was less contextual, it was more natural, Kendrick in his natural form, I put it above it. Just looking at what its natural appeal would be to an audience. And then when we talk about albums like Overly Dedicated and Section 80, along with the untitled, unreleased project, I don't really consider those albums, as much as other people do. But yeah, that's my rating on Kendrick Lamar albums personally. I understand that my top three can be argued depending on what type of a music listener you are. But this is the fourth best Kendrick Lamar project in my opinion. All right, on to some questions we have here in the chat. Most of the album was not all that, bro. Again, I understand where you come from in that, but I think that, again, you got to take a look at this album, or you got to listen to it, bro. Like, I feel like my appreciation for Kendrick Lamar is really, hold on, we're getting a lot going on in the chat right now. My appreciation for Kendrick Lamar really is in understanding his growth as an artist. Like, knowing who Kendrick Lamar, in my opinion, was at his peak as a rapper at the Kendrick Lamar EP. Everything else was, let me just give people my art form after that. Like, that was when Kendrick Lamar reached his peak. That to me is LeBron that to me is LeBron in the league, and I'm shitting on 70% of the league, right? And then he got to Good Kid, Mad City, and that was like, all right, LeBron James just joined the Miami Heat with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, and they're fucking unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? And then we move on to Pimp a Butterfly and Damn, and I feel like that's LeBron James when he went back to Cleveland. Like, that's LeBron James when he went back to Cleveland. And with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, that's LeBron in LA. And this last one, really, to me, is this nigga still got it. It's LeBron right now, in my opinion. Like, I think that's the greatest comparison in understanding Kendrick Lamar's discography. He really is LeBron in terms of his career, in my opinion. Like there's a very strong correlation, between the two. Um, but again, I liked the album from the standpoint of the fact that off of initial listen, it was cohesive. It was Kendrick Lamar giving you Kendrick Lamar, and that means a lot in this era when we understand just how generational Kendrick Lamar is as an artist. Like you cannot undermine what he's doing. Like it's like undermining what Nas does. On It Was Written or uh, 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 um, um, Illmatic or Stillmatic. It's like undermining those albums. Like I understand the industry is what it is, right? And if you're a modern industry listener and you consider that to be the peak of music, obviously you're going to listen to this project in a different way than people who understand what hip hop is in its modern context, right? And in my opinion, if you weren't past high school in 2013, you're probably one of those people who think that Kendrick Lamar isn't a good artist. But I can guarantee you, when you get to a point of adulthood and your mind fully develops and you stop listening to DJ Academics, who 5 minutes after the album came out said the album is 0 for 12, you start to see what really is music, what really is hip hop, what really is to be appreciated. And I think that this project, in the context of the industry, or in respect to the industry, is solid. I mean, it's great. I mean, the everything about it, I think, is solid. Again, fourth best project of all time. But moving on to another question. Why do you think Kendrick Lamar is able to sell the West Coast sound better than E40 Ice Cube today? Because West Coast rap was not being hyped on the East. That's true. What up, Mike? By the way, I think all in all, the reason why he's able to, and I think we got to understand that Kendrick Lamar is respected because of his ability to rap. I feel like not only in an era where music is is very much in its low quality age, but also because of the people who are considered the best. He stood 10 toes with them, being Drake and J. Cole and others, because Kendrick Lamar came up at a time when rapping was rapping, like in the 2010, 2012, 2011 era. Like people, you had to rap at that point in time. You still had to be a good rapper to be respected, and that's why artists like Big Sean was on like he was on and things like that. So people really did appreciate real rap in the early 2010s, mid 2010s, and Kendrick Lamar grew and I feel like I remember sitting in my dorm room with a few friends and we were arguing between Kendrick Lamar and Meek Mill, and a lot of people not understanding or knowing who Kendrick Lamar was at that time, who were from certain East Coast cities. And after the shock of Kendrick Lamar's success with Good Kid, Mad City and making a conceptual album, a style of an album that we haven't heard in such a long time, but has been pretty consistent in terms of West Coast music, it was just perfect timing for him to drop an album the same day as a person like Meek Mill and others and really steal the shine, as it being one of the best projects that we've heard in a very long time because of that. And I think that hype that Kendrick Lamar garnered at that point, and then over time us growing to understand him as an artist, and him taking, I wouldn't necessarily say as a risk, but doing something at a high level in the industry that wasn't considered the norm with a project like To Pimp a Butterfly. Like the very Afrocentric musical jazz nature of that project really brought us back to the roots of hip hop, really brought us back to the roots of our own cultural music, so much so that it influenced Beyonce to transition her presentation or branding or what have you. And like he just kept hitting and he realized, okay, boom, let me give you Damn now. And it's just, he just didn't miss in terms of being in tune with what people wanted to hear at the time. And I feel like while you could argue none of those projects really had anything West Coast on them, while they may have had some Dr. Dre production, those first three projects from Kendrick, major projects from Kendrick, weren't very West Coast, even though he was a West Coast artist. I feel like now is when we've gotten most of the West Coast sound from Kendrick. And I think that it could easily be the reason why a lot of people say that they don't like this album. But at the same time, I think people will accept it a lot more because we don't really get a whole lot of boppy music from Kendrick. And when he does give it to us, being now, it is that West Coast vibe. And I think people are going to accept it for what it is. And that's going to be a sound. Like, I mean, the same way that a lot of New York radio is an Atlanta bop or maybe is a Chicago drill, is the same way I feel like the West Coast sound could permeate within the industry as well. And I think that is great for an artist like Kendrick Lamar to be respected in the realm of being this intellectual backpack rapper, what have you, and jump into that realm as well and really show you his diversity. I think it's really, really dope for him to do. But yeah, I think that he's going to be more successful than E40 or an Ice Cube because he rose to being a bigger artist, being on the plateau. He won out on a beef with one of the most notarized artists of this era, and now he's giving you natural nature me. And I feel like that's why he's going to be successful with it. Now, I do feel like he should transition back into making the general music. I don't think that the West Coast sound he should continue with. But I do also think that after this particular Kendrick project, I don't think we're going to get one maybe for another 4 or 5 years. I mean, if we do, it'll probably be something collaborative. I feel like at this point, with him dropping this project and J. Cole most likely dropping his project at the last day of this year, which I'm sincerely hoping for, and I really feel like he's going to do, which he's done multiple times with For Your Eyes Only as well as Forest Hill Drive. End of the year, J. Cole is he's never missed dropping an album in late December. I feel like it's gonna be a great year for music, and I feel like with Kendrick, with J. Cole dropping this Fall Off project, with Kendrick dropping this project, that really feels like it's a put on album in a way, and just mixtape Kenny a little bit. I feel like he's moving into this era of next level status. I'm chilling out. I'm doing other things now. I'm owning football teams or shit, like, you know what I'm saying, type stuff. I'm hanging out with celebrity type thing now. I think that's really I'm feeling that's where he's going here. Like, it's like Jay-Z, I'm retired. It's like, nah, I'm not retired. And then I come back and drop something else type of a J. Cole. I mean, Kendrick Lamar. And then I even feel like with, again, J. Cole dropping the Fall Off, him dropping this, he could transition into a collaborative project with Cole, which I think would be great for the culture. Really great for the culture. And I think that he, at this point, would want to do it. And that's why I think he's being a little bit quiet on that. And then also he could go into really growing PG Lang from a content creation perspective, being more than just music. But yeah, that's my thoughts in that regard. Moving on. The album was trash. Okay, I respect your opinion. Please share more. Provide context. I feel like that's a very blunt sentence or viewpoint. Here's why. I mean, if something's trash, obviously provide me an understanding as to why it's trash so that we can understand just how stupid you are. Thank you. We'll end there. Moving on. Let's be honest. The album was underwhelming at best and trash. If we're being real, he should have held this album until after the Super Bowl. Nah. I get why holding an album until after the Super Bowl makes sense. I agree to some degree. Maybe he could be dropping a whole nother project. This was a short E40. I don't agree that the album was trash. I don't agree that the album was underwhelming. I do think that there were some underwhelming facets to the album, but I'll say that from the perspective of coming off of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, which to me was a masterful body of music. It was a painting. It was an art form. It was let me create this piece of art, where I feel like this was more so, let me just rap. You know what I'm saying? Wow, it had its masterful areas of the project, whereas this is Kendrick Lamar in his true form type thing. But it wasn't contextual. It wasn't, I feel like this should be a book or a play, like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers or Good Kid, Mad City, or even the way that we made uh, 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 um, Damn conceptual, right? And how you can play it backwards or forwards, and the story and the overall point or subtext of it all. And again, it's early. We don't have enough of that information right now. Um, but I do feel you when you say that it's a little bit underwhelming. I do feel you there. I don't feel like it's trash. Again, I feel like you got to know who Kendrick Lamar is and understanding that, like, he still mixtape Kenny. Like, his peak started at Kendrick Lamar EP. Like, his peak didn't start at one album, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think you got to look at him a lot more as a whole person based on his body of music rather than just one project to the next. Can't be a slight. It doesn't hit, bro. Okay. Okay. I understand, right? You feel like it didn't hit. Um I think that you should listen to the project one more time. I think that before you let the media and all the people talking shit out there get to you, take a step back and really listen to the project. And if you truly feel like from your own individual perspective with the absence of influences is trash, then I think you should question what your understanding of good music is. Again, because it's like I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you any project is trash. I think that you really gotta listen to it and understand, like, what is this project mean in context of this particular artist, and does it show growth? Because I feel like it's hip hop. Like, he's rapping and he's doing it at a high level. He's doing it at a good level. You might not be able to appeal to the West Coast sound, but for that reason, you don't have to call it trash. But I think if anything, like, you can consider it a meh album or an average album if that's what you would like to do. Again, I don't think that it is a top three. It's my number four, arguably number five between Mr. Morale and Big Steppers, depending on how you want to look at it. But again, it's not my top Kendrick album, but it feels like mixtape Kenny. It feels like, all right, let me throw some shit together, give you a few bops. Let me give you a slapper from SZA because she's going to be at the Super Bowl with me. Let me give you another mustard put on because he's going to be at the Super Bowl with me, right? And let me address a few things and then put on my niggas, you know what I'm saying, type style. So I feel like that's really, really, really where he going with it. 9 out of 12 for me. I listen. I totally understand where you get 9 out of 12 from, and I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree with you at all. And again, I'm just, the album to me lacks context. It lacks cohesiveness. It's just, again, it's just a bunch of songs to me. It's very much mixtape Kenny. It feels like Mr. Morale and the Big Stepper throwaways. I mean, even with you still having Sam do on certain songs. Not shitting on it. Like I said, to me, it's it's an 11 out of 12 project. To me, I liked 11 songs out of 12, right? And I can understand why they were put on the album and why they exist there. Opinions are just that, opinions. I'm digging it, and it's on brand for K Dot, but I think he got more coming. I agree with you there. I totally think that he has more coming. Like, this is a 12. I think this might be one of the shortest projects, official releases that he may have dropped thus far, and it totally feels like he's got more coming. And again, I say this all the time, or I was saying this earlier. You know, this is, to me, mixtape Kenny. Like, this is modern day mixtape Kenny. It's a very natural project. It's a very put a beat on and let me do my thing type of album. I feel like, again, my theory on what the title of the album means is got next, or got next, right? On some, you know, hood vernacular type of colloquialism. But I feel like this was definitely all right, let me give you something to prep you for the Super Bowl, right? Because it's about to be holiday season. You know, we ain't got much going on from here on out besides time with family. We not even working right now. Going into January, that's going to blow by with all the holidays and college football, and then February, and then it's here. You feel me? And it's like, a note on why I feel like Kendrick has more from this is just like, it doesn't feel like like this Kendrick Lamar that we know like today to be as artistic as he is. It doesn't feel like this is it from him. Like it definitely doesn't. And maybe like with the remorse he expressed on the Heart Part 6, maybe he's really putting some time back into Black Hippie. I mean, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I would love to hear this cohesion of growth between these artists, like hearing Schoolboy Q, Absol, J Rock, and Kendrick Lamar on now, like understanding who they are as artists. Like, I mean, when I think of it, I look at the best of these artists and putting it all together. And I feel like with Q's energetic, abstract boppiness combined with Absol's lyricism and wordplay, with J Rock's just sound and soulfulness in a way. He's kind of bluesy on his best tracks, in my opinion. And Kendrick Lamar being like really the Swiss Army knife of them all, which is why I feel like he's the overall successor of them all, which is also what he alludes to on the Heart Part 6. I'm excited. I mean, the last time we heard something close to Black Hippie related was, I think, Easy Bake off of J Rock's album. I think that was J Rock's is Kendrick Lamar, but yeah. Again, like you said, bro, opinions are just opinions. Opinions are definitely just opinions. But this album to me was a solid project. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Taking questions right now before we sign off. Again, I'd like to thank everybody who did join for joining. Hey, if you want to send us a super chat, that'll also be appreciated. But yeah, man, I thank you all for listening. It's been great, man. If there's no other questions, man, I'm going to drop off and then I'm going to do my official review for the channel, man. My official review for the channel. Thank you all for tuning in, for listening, for dropping your comments. Play it back if you want to really get my review on some things. But yeah, I'm going to listen to the album another time and then I am going to drop my official review. Thanks, guys. Signing out. Peace.